She acted broke for 5 years of their marriage until her millionaire CEO husband's family invited her to a dinner party just to humiliate her. But what happened after that left the family in shock. $5 million. Clarissa Delacroix held up the envelope like it was a trophy, her perfectly manicured fingers gripping the edge as she addressed the crowd of 300 elite guests. For 5 years, this woman has pretended to love my brother while contributing nothing to our family or our legacy. We have evidence that suggests her interest in Marcus has always been purely financial. So tonight, we are offering her a way out. $5 million. More than fair compensation for someone who earns minimum wage. All she has to do is sign the divorce papers and walk away. The ballroom fell silent. Every eye turned to the woman standing near the stage. The woman in the simple black dress. The woman with no jewelry except a thin wedding band. The woman the Delacroix family had spent 5 years trying to destroy. They expected tears. They expected protests. They expected her to crumble. Instead, Vivienne Ashford Delacroix did something that made the blood drain from every face on that stage. She laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a broken laugh. A genuine, clear, confident laugh that cut through the tension like a blade through silk. $5 million, Vivienne repeated, her voice carrying effortlessly across the stunned room. That is very generous. For someone who earns minimum wage. She pulled out her phone and pressed a single button. Ramona, we are ready. The screen behind Clarissa flickered. The damning investigation documents vanished. And in their place appeared financial records that made the entire room gasp. Ashford Global Industries. Sole owner and chief executive officer, Vivienne Ashford Delacroix. Net worth, $4.2 billion. Clarissa's envelope slipped from her fingers and scattered across the stage floor. What would you do if the family that spent 5 years trying to destroy you suddenly handed you the power to destroy them instead? What would you do if the people who called you worthless discovered you could buy their entire empire with your pocket change? What would you do if you held their fate in your hands and they were begging for mercy? This is the story of a woman who had everything but chose to appear as though she had nothing. A woman who endured 5 years of cruelty in silence, all for the love of a man who saw her heart when everyone else only saw her empty pockets. A woman who could have ended the humiliation at any moment with a single phone call but chose patience over power. And when the truth finally came out, she faced a choice that would define her forever. Revenge or forgiveness, destruction or grace. If you believe that real love can overcome anything, hit that like button right now. And stay with me until the very end, because what happens next will leave you absolutely speechless. Let me take you back to where it all began. 5 years earlier. The rain was merciless that Tuesday night in October. The kind of rain that makes you question every decision you have ever made about leaving your house. The kind of rain that turns city streets into rivers and sends sensible people running for cover. Vivienne Ashford was not running anywhere. She sat alone in a small coffee shop near the University District, her laptop open to quarterly reports that would have made most people's heads spin. Profit margins, acquisition targets, international expansion strategies, the kind of documents that determined the fate of thousands of employees across 3 continents. But to anyone watching, she looked like just another graduate student burning the midnight oil. Simple clothes, hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, a half-finished cup of coffee growing cold beside her. That was exactly how she wanted to look. The bell above the door chimed violently as someone burst in from the storm. Vivienne glanced up and saw a man in what had once been an expensive suit, now thoroughly soaked and clinging to his tall frame. Water dripped from his dark hair and pooled on the floor around his Italian leather shoes. He stood there for a moment, breathing heavily, looking like a man who had just lost a war. Something about his expression made Vivienne close her laptop. "Rough night," she said. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and something shifted in the air between them. Something neither of them could have predicted or explained. "The worst," he admitted, running a hand through his wet hair. "I just lost the biggest deal of my career. My family thinks I am an embarrassment. And now I am dripping water all over a perfectly nice coffee shop while a stranger watches me fall apart." Vivienne gestured to the empty chair across from her. "Want to talk about it?" He stared at her for a long moment, as if trying to determine whether she was real or some kind of hallucination brought on by stress and exhaustion. "I do not even know you. Sometimes that makes it easier." Vivienne smiled. "I am Vivienne. Marcus," he said, sliding into the offered chair. Marcus Delacroix. Vivienne knew the name immediately. Delacroix Corporation, old money, society pages, the kind of family that had buildings named after them and scandals whispered about at charity galas. She also knew that Marcus Delacroix had no idea who she was, and she intended to keep it that way. "So tell me about this deal you lost," she said. "What happened?" For the next 3 hours, Marcus Delacroix poured out his heart to a woman he had just met in a rain-soaked coffee shop. He talked about the pressure of being the only son in a family that measured worth in profit margins. He talked about his father's disappointment and his mother's impossible standards and his sister's constant competition. He talked about feeling like no matter what he achieved, it would never be enough. And Vivian listened, really listened, not with the practiced attention of someone calculating their advantage, but with genuine empathy and understanding. When he finally stopped talking, Marcus looked almost embarrassed. "I cannot believe I just told all of that to a complete stranger," he said. "You must think I am pathetic. I think you are human," Vivian replied. "And I think you are a lot stronger than your family gives you credit for." Something changed in his eyes then, a spark of hope that had nothing to do with business deals or family expectations. "Can I see you again?" he asked. "Maybe somewhere that is not a coffee shop at midnight during a monsoon?" Vivian smiled. "I would like that." They met again the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. What Marcus did not know, what he could not possibly have known, was that the woman he was falling in love with was not who she appeared to be. Vivian Ashford was the sole heir to Ashford Global Industries, a conglomerate worth over $4 billion with holdings in technology, pharmaceuticals, and international real estate. Her father, the legendary industrialist Raymond Ashford, had built an empire from nothing, and upon his death 3 years earlier, Vivian had quietly taken the reins. She was one of the wealthiest women in the world, and she was desperately, painfully tired of it. Every friendship she had ever made had been calculated. Every romance had been transactional. Her last relationship had ended with the devastating discovery that her fiancé was simultaneously romancing 3 other heiresses, hedging his bets to see which fortune he could capture first. That betrayal had broken something inside her, or maybe it had finally fixed something that had been broken for years. She had made a decision that night, crying alone in a penthouse that suddenly felt like a prison. She would find someone who loved her for herself, just herself, nothing more. No bank accounts, no business connections, no family legacy, just Vivienne. So she had created a new life, a small apartment in a modest neighborhood, simple clothes that cost less than her former handbags, a part-time job at a bookstore she actually owned but pretended to just work at. She wanted to know what it felt like to be ordinary, to be chosen not for what she could provide, but for who she was at her core. And then she met Marcus Delacroix. The irony was not lost on her. Running from wealth and privilege, she had fallen for a man who came from wealth and privilege. But Marcus was different from anyone she had ever known. He saw past appearances. He asked questions about her thoughts and dreams instead of her connections and assets. He made her laugh and challenged her assumptions and treated her like she was the most interesting person in any room. He had no idea she was richer than his entire family combined, and she was terrified to tell him. 8 months later, Marcus proposed. It was not at a fancy restaurant or an exotic destination or any of the places Vivian had seen proposals happen in her former social circle. It was at their coffee shop, the same coffee shop where they had met, the same table where he had poured out his heart to a stranger. He got down on one knee and held out a ring that was modest by any standard, but clearly chosen with love and thought. "Vivienne," he said, his voice shaking, "you make me feel like I am enough, exactly as I am. Not what my family wants me to be, not what the world expects me to be, just me. I want to spend the rest of my life making you feel the same way. Will you marry me?" She said yes with tears streaming down her face. Tears of joy and tears of fear, because saying yes meant meeting his family, and meeting his family meant maintaining a lie that was growing more complicated by the day. "My family will come around," Marcus promised when she expressed her concerns. "Once they meet you, once they see how incredible you are, they will love you as much as I do." He believed every word. He was so beautifully, painfully wrong. The Delacroix mansion sat on 12 acres of perfectly manicured grounds in the most exclusive neighborhood in the city. It was less a home and more a monument to generations of accumulated wealth and power. Every room was designed to impress. Every detail screamed old money and older attitudes. Vivian felt the weight of judgment the moment she walked through the door. Beatrice Delacroix descended the grand staircase like a queen greeting a peasant. She was beautiful in the way of polished marble, cold and flawless and utterly without warmth. Her eyes swept over Vivian's simple dress and modest jewelry and rendered her verdict without saying a single word. "So," she said finally, "you are the one who has captured my son's attention, not captured his heart, not won his love. Captured his attention, like Vivian was a temporary distraction that would eventually bore him. It is wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Delacroix," Vivian said, extending her hand. "Marcus has told me so much about you." Beatrice's handshake lasted exactly 1 second. "How quaint," she said, gesturing vaguely at Vivian's outfit. "Marcus, dear, perhaps next time you could provide your guest with something more appropriate to wear." Marcus opened his mouth to protest, but his mother had already turned and was walking toward the formal dining room. The dinner that followed was a master class in subtle cruelty. Gerald Delacroix, the patriarch, sat at the head of the table like a judge presiding over a trial. He was tall and distinguished and looked at Vivian like she was a balance sheet that did not add up. "What exactly is it you do, Miss Ashford?" he asked, cutting into his steak with surgical precision. Marcus mentioned something about a bookstore. "I work in retail, yes," Vivian replied, keeping her voice steady. "I love being surrounded by books. There is something magical about connecting people with stories that change their lives." Gerald exchanged a look with his wife that spoke volumes. "Retail," he repeated, as if tasting something unpleasant. "How practical." Clarissa Delacroix sat across from Vivian, watching her with the intensity of a predator studying prey. At 2008, she was 2 years younger than Marcus and 10 times more ruthless. Beautiful in the way of sharp edges and cutting remarks, she had her mother's calculating eyes and her father's ambition. She had not spoken a word throughout dinner. That made her the most dangerous person at the table. After the meal, Vivian excused herself to the powder room. She needed a moment alone to process the hostility that had been directed at her for the past 2 hours. She needed to breathe, but she was not alone for long. Clarissa appeared in the doorway, closing the door behind her with a soft click that sounded like a trap snapping shut. "Let me be perfectly clear with you," Clarissa said, her voice sweet as poison. "I do not know what scheme you are running, but it will not work." Vivian met her gaze without flinching. "I am not running any scheme. I love your brother." Clarissa laughed, a cold, brittle sound that echoed off the marble walls. "Love? How romantic. How naive. My brother is the heir to a billion-dollar empire. He needs someone with breeding, connections, and class." She stepped closer, her eyes hard. "You have none of those things." "I have integrity," Vivian replied quietly. "I have kindness. I have a heart that genuinely cares about your brother's happiness. And I have resources." Clarissa cut her off. "Resources to find out everything about you. Resources to make your life very difficult. Resources to ensure that this little romance of yours ends before it goes any further. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you." Clarissa smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Whatever you think you are going to get from this relationship, you will not. My family will make sure of it. Enjoy your evening, Miss Ashford. It will be one of your last in this house." She swept out of the room, leaving Vivian staring at her own reflection in the ornate mirror. That night, in the car on the way back to her apartment, Marcus apologized over and over. "I am so sorry," he said. "They are not usually like that. They are just protective of the family. Once they get to know you, they will see what I see. I promise." Vivian wanted to believe him, but she had seen the look in Beatrice's eyes. She had heard the threat in Clarissa's voice. She had felt the dismissal in Gerald's every. They would never accept her, not because of who she was, but because of what they thought she lacked. The irony was almost too painful to bear. She could have ended it all right there. One phone call, one document, one revelation that would have turned the tables completely. She could have shown them exactly who they were dealing with and watched their contempt transform into desperate approval. But that would have proven nothing. If they only respected her because of her money, their respect was worthless. If they only accepted her because of her power, their acceptance was meaningless. She wanted to be loved for herself, just herself, and she was willing to wait for as long as it took. The wedding was a battlefield. From the moment the engagement was announced, Beatrice launched a campaign to delay, diminish, or destroy the ceremony entirely. "Perhaps you should wait," she suggested to Marcus with practiced concern. Until Vivian has established herself a bit more, found a real career, made something of herself. Marcus refused. "We are getting married, Mother," he said firmly, "and you can either support us or stay home." Beatrice did not stay home. She did something far worse. She took control. The guest list became a war zone. Delacroix associates and society connections filled every seat, while Vivian's side of the church remained painfully sparse. Her mother had passed away years ago. Her father was gone. The friends she had made in her new life were few, and she could not invite her real associates without revealing her secret. She walked down the aisle toward the man she loved while 300 people who despised her watched in judgment. Gerald's speech at the reception was a masterpiece of subtle insult. He praised Marcus's business acumen, his family loyalty, his brilliant future. He mentioned Vivian exactly once. "And of course, we welcome his new wife," Gerald said, raising his glass. "May she rise to meet the expectations of this family. Rise to meet them, as if she were starting from somewhere beneath them." The photographer somehow managed to exclude her from half the family photos. Technical difficulties, he claimed. Camera malfunctions. Strange angles. By the time the album was assembled, it looked like Marcus had married a ghost. But Vivian endured. She smiled and nodded, and pretended not to notice the whispers that followed her through the reception. She danced with Marcus and focused on his face and reminded herself why she was doing this. She loved him. That had to be enough. Year one of marriage set the tone for everything that followed. Beatrice perfected the art of casual cruelty. Every family dinner included at least one comment about Vivian's inadequacy. Every social event featured at least one moment of deliberate exclusion. "That dress looks like something from a discount store," Beatrice would observe, loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Could Marcus not afford something better for you? Perhaps if you had proper education, you could contribute to conversations," Gerald would add when business discussions arose. "But I suppose retail work does not require much intellectual capacity." The comments were constant and cutting. They came at holidays and birthdays and random Tuesday dinners. They came in front of family and friends and business associates. They came without mercy and without end. And Vivian took it all in silence. She could have stopped it at any moment. One phone call to Ramona, her secret assistant, and the truth would come out. Ashford Global Industries could have bought Delacroix Corporation 10 times over. The woman they treated like a beggar controlled more wealth than they would ever see. But she kept her secret, because she still believed, somewhere in her heart, that they might eventually see her for who she really was. That they might learn to accept her based on her character rather than her bank account, and because she loved Marcus too much to taint what they had with questions about her motives. If she revealed her wealth now, would he wonder if everything had been a lie? Would he question whether her love was real? Would their marriage survive the revelation that she had hidden such a fundamental truth? She could not risk it. So she endured. The society events were the worst. The Delacroix Foundation hosted an annual charity ball that drew the elite of the elite. It was Vivian's first public appearance as Marcus's wife, and Beatrice made sure it would be memorable for all the wrong reasons. The seating arrangements placed Vivian at a table near the kitchen entrance, surrounded by junior associates and staff members, while the rest of the family held court at the center of the room. When she tried to join Marcus at the main table, Beatrice intercepted her with a sympathetic smile. "Oh dear. I'm afraid there has been a mix-up with the seating. These things happen when one is not familiar with formal events, but I am sure you will be more comfortable over there, with people more your speed." Vivian saw the triumph in Beatrice's eyes. She saw the other guests watching, measuring, judging. She smiled and walked to her assigned table with her head held high. But the humiliation was not over. Midway through the evening, Clarissa approached with 2 glasses of red wine. She was laughing at something, gesturing dramatically, and somehow her elbow caught Vivian's shoulder just as she passed. The wine splashed across the front of Vivian's dress, staining the white fabric with crimson. "Oh my goodness," Clarissa gasped with mock horror. "I am so sorry. How clumsy of me. That dress is probably ruined. Although honestly, it looks like it came from a clearance rack anyway, so perhaps no great loss." The guests nearby tittered with barely concealed laughter. Vivian looked down at her ruined dress, then up at Clarissa's smirking face. "Accidents happen," she said quietly. "I will just go clean up." She spent the rest of the evening hiding in a bathroom stall, listening to the sounds of celebration outside, while tears she refused to shed burned in her eyes. That night, she almost told Marcus everything. They were lying in bed, and he was holding her while she shook with the effort of containing her emotions. "I hate what they do to you," he whispered. "I hate that I cannot stop it. I hate that my own family treats my wife like she is beneath them." "It is fine," Vivian said. "It will get better." "When?" Marcus demanded. "When will it get better? Because I have been waiting my whole life for them to change, and they never do." Vivian turned to face him, tracing the lines of frustration on his face. "They will come around," she said. "Eventually. We just have to be patient." She did not tell him that she could end it all with one revelation. She did not tell him that the power to destroy his family's arrogance was literally in her hands, because that was not the victory she wanted. She wanted them to accept her as a person, not as a bank account, not as a business asset, as a human being worthy of basic dignity and respect. And she was willing to wait for as long as it took to get that, even if it took forever. Have you ever loved someone so much that you were willing to suffer in silence just to protect what you have together? Have you ever endured cruelty you could have stopped because the alternative felt like an even greater betrayal? That was Vivian's reality, day after day, month after month, year after year. 5 years of patience, 5 years of silent strength, 5 years of holding on to hope that seemed more foolish with every passing insult. And through it all, she managed her secret empire from the shadows. Every morning after Marcus left for work, Vivian would transform. The modest wife would disappear, and the CEO would emerge. Encrypted calls with Ramona, her executive assistant who had been with the company since her father's time. Video. Conferences with board members who never questioned why she always worked from coffee shops instead of corner offices. Billion-dollar decisions made from a kitchen table while the family who despised her had no idea they were in the presence of power. The irony was exquisite and agonizing. Gerald Delacroix would lecture her about her lack of business understanding while she was literally running circles around his entire corporation. Beatrice would mock her retail job while Vivian was quietly acquiring competitors and expanding into new markets. Clarissa would sneer at her lack of ambition while she was building an empire that dwarfed their family fortune. But the secret remained locked away, because money could not buy what Vivian truly wanted. It could not buy love. It could not buy acceptance. It could not buy the simple dignity of being seen as a person rather than a price tag. So she waited, and endured, and hoped. Year 2 brought new pressures. Beatrice had discovered a new weapon in her arsenal of cruelty: pregnancy. "When are you going to give Marcus an heir?" she would ask at every family gathering. The Delacroix line must continue. "Time is not on your side, dear. Some women are meant to be mothers," she would observe with false sympathy. "Others are simply not equipped for the responsibility. Perhaps that is something you should have considered before trapping my son." The comments were relentless. "Perhaps breeding is another thing she is not qualified for," Clarissa would add with mock concern. Such a shame that Marcus could not find someone more suitable. Vivian absorbed every blow. She and Marcus had discussed children, of course. They both wanted them eventually. But the timing never seemed right with his family's constant interference and her secret double life creating complications neither of them fully understood. The pressure made everything worse. "You know," Gerald said one evening over dinner, "the family line must continue. We have responsibilities to consider, legacy to protect. Time is being wasted." He looked directly at Vivian as he said it, as if she were a faulty machine that was failing to perform its designated function. Marcus exploded. "That is enough," he shouted, throwing down his napkin. "Vivian and I will have children when we are ready, not when it fits your timeline, not when it satisfies your obsession with legacy. When we decide, together." Gerald's face hardened. "You forget yourself, Marcus. This family has survived for generations because we understand the importance of proper planning. Your mother and I knew our responsibilities. We fulfilled them without complaint. And look how well that turned out." Marcus shot back. "2 children who can barely stand to be in the same room. A daughter who treats manipulation like a sport. A family that measures love in profit margins. Forgive me if I want something different for my own children." The room went silent. Beatrice's face was pale with fury. Clarissa looked like she wanted to throw something. Gerald's jaw was set in a hard line that promised future consequences. Marcus took Vivian's hand. "We are leaving," he said, "and we will not be back until this family learns basic human decency." They drove home in tense silence. That night, Marcus apologized for his family for the 1,000th time. "I am sorry," he said, holding her close. "I am so sorry they treat you this way. If I could change them, I would." "I know," Vivian whispered. "I know you would." "Why do you stay?" he asked suddenly. "Why do you put up with them? Any other woman would have left by now. Any other woman would have demanded that I choose between them and her." Vivian was quiet for a long moment. "Because the first, love you," she said finally. "And loving you means accepting that your family is part of the package. I keep hoping they will change, that they will see me for who I am instead of who they think I am. And if they never change, then I will keep loving you anyway. And we will build our own family, one that treats each other with kindness and respect, one that our children will be proud to belong to." Marcus held her tighter. "I do not deserve you." She smiled against his chest. "Probably not, but you are stuck with me anyway." She did not tell him that she could reveal her true identity at any moment. She did not tell him that the acceptance she craved could be purchased with a single phone call, because that was not acceptance at all. That was just a different kind of transaction. Year 3 brought the incident that nearly broke her. The Delacroix family was hosting a charity fundraiser for children's education. It was the kind of event that drew society's elite, attracted media attention, and required everyone to pretend they cared about something other than being seen at the right parties. Vivian had volunteered to help with the organization. She genuinely cared about the cause, and she hoped that contributing to something meaningful might soften the family's attitude toward her. She should have known better. She arrived early on the day of the event, ready to assist with setup and coordination. She had spent weeks planning behind the scenes, suggesting improvements that came from her experience running an actual charitable foundation, though she was careful to frame them as simple ideas rather than professional expertise. Beatrice was standing in the grand ballroom when Vivian approached. "There you are," Beatrice said with a tight smile. "Good. We need all hands on deck today. What would you like me to do?" Vivian asked. "I have some ideas for the silent auction layout that might increase bids, and I think we could improve the seating arrangement to encourage more mingling between potential donors." Beatrice's expression froze. "How thoughtful," she said slowly. "But I think we will leave the planning to people who understand how these events work." She gestured toward the back of the room. "Perhaps you would be more comfortable in the kitchen, dear. With the staff. That seems more your natural environment." The words hit like a slap. Vivian looked around and realized that several guests had already arrived early. They were watching, listening, waiting to see how the bookstore clerk would respond to being put in her place. "The kitchen," Vivian repeated. "Yes," Beatrice smiled sweetly. "You can help serve the hors d'oeuvres. I'm sure that is more in line with your skill set." The humiliation was complete and public and utterly intentional. Vivian stood frozen for a long moment. She could feel the weight of judgment from every eye in the room. She could hear the whispered comments starting. She could sense the satisfaction radiating from Beatrice like heat from a fire. In that moment, she almost broke. She almost pulled out her phone and called Ramona. She almost revealed that she had single-handedly funded more charitable causes than the entire Delacroix Foundation combined. She almost told Beatrice exactly who was standing in front of her and watched the realization dawn on that cruel, smug face. But she did not, because revealing herself in anger would prove nothing except that she could be provoked into reacting exactly like they expected. It would validate every assumption they had made about her motivations. It would taint everything she had built with Marcus. So instead, she smiled. "Of course, Mrs. Delacroix. Whatever helps the children." She walked to the kitchen with her head held high and spent the next 4 hours serving food to people who looked through her like she was invisible. That night, alone in her bathroom while Marcus slept, she finally let herself cry. Great heaving sobs that she had held inside for 3 years. Tears for every insult she had swallowed. Tears for every humiliation she had endured. Tears for the girl who just wanted to be loved for herself and was starting to wonder if that was even possible. When the tears finally stopped, Vivian looked at her reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at her was not broken. She was stronger, and she made herself a promise. One day, the truth would come out. One day, they would see exactly who they had been dismissing all along. One day, they would understand the depth of their mistake. And when that day came, she would have a choice to make: revenge or forgiveness. She was not sure which she would choose, but she knew that the choice would be hers. And that was power enough for now. If you are feeling what Vivian felt in that moment, if your heart is breaking for this woman who deserved so much better, drop a comment below and tell me. Would you have revealed your secret? Would you have endured the way she did? I read every single comment, and I want to know what you would have done. Because what happens next will change everything. Year 4 brought the beginning of the end. Not for Vivian, for the Delacroix family. Vivian first noticed the signs during a routine check of her investment portfolio. Ashford Global Industries had interests in various sectors, including a silent stake in several Asian markets where Delacroix Corporation was attempting a major expansion. The numbers did not look good. She made some discreet inquiries. Her sources confirmed what she suspected. The Delacroix expansion was hemorrhaging money, bad investments, poor management, overconfident projections based on family arrogance rather than market reality. They were in serious trouble, and they had no idea that the wife they despised was watching their empire crumble from the best seat in the house. At first, Vivian felt a surge of something that might have been satisfaction. After years of being treated like nothing, there was a certain poetic justice in watching them fail. They had mocked her business ignorance while driving their own company into the ground. They had questioned her worth while proving their own incompetence. But the satisfaction faded quickly, because Marcus was part of that company. Marcus worked alongside his father every day. Marcus would be devastated if the family business collapsed. And despite everything, Vivian loved him too much to enjoy his pain. So she watched, and waited, and began to formulate a plan. Meanwhile, the family's desperation was manifesting in increased cruelty toward her. Gerald was more irritable than ever, snapping at everyone and finding particular pleasure in belittling Vivian during family dinners. At least Marcus's unfortunate choice of wife is not costing us money, he muttered one evening. That we know of. Beatrice's attacks became more vicious. She seemed to need an outlet for her stress, and Vivian had always been the easiest target. I saw your type of woman interviewed on television last week. She observed with false sweetness. Some documentary about poverty and poor life choices. It was quite educational. Clarissa had become almost unhinged. Her usual cold calculation was giving way to desperate anxiety as the company she expected to inherit showed signs of crumbling. She started dating a business rival, a man named Theodore Wellington, who ran a competing corporation and seemed far too interested in Delacroix internal affairs. Clarissa was too distracted by her own panic to notice she was being used. But Vivian noticed. She noticed everything. The pieces of a much larger puzzle were falling into place, and Vivian was the only one who could see the complete picture. The Delacroix family needed help, and they were about to discover that the only person who could save them was the woman they had spent 4 years trying to destroy. Year 5. The year everything changed. Vivian sat in her modest living room, reviewing the intelligence that Ramona had compiled over the past several months. The picture it painted was grim. Delacroix Corporation was facing bankruptcy. Their Asian expansion had failed catastrophically, losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Their stock price was plummeting. Their creditors were circling like sharks. They needed a major capital infusion or a strategic partnership to survive, and they had been pursuing exactly such a partnership with Ashford Global Industries. The irony was almost too perfect. Gerald had been in meetings with Ashford representatives for months, never realizing that every person across the table ultimately reported to his own daughter-in-law. He had dismissed the young female executives who handled the negotiations, demanding to speak with someone in charge, completely unaware that the person in charge was serving him coffee at family dinners. The board is getting impatient. Ramona reported during their encrypted call. They want to know why you keep stalling the partnership discussions. Because I am waiting, Vivian replied. For what? For the right moment. That moment came in the form of a gold-embossed invitation, the Delacroix Foundation annual gala. For the first time in 5 years, Vivian's attendance was not merely tolerated. It was required. Something is different, Vivian told Ramona as she examined the invitation. They usually try to exclude me from these events. Now they are insisting I come. My sources say they are planning something. Ramona replied. Beatrice has been telling everyone that you are finally going to show your true colors. She has invited every important business contact, every society leader. She wants witnesses. Witnesses for what? Ramona paused. They're going to offer you money to leave. A payoff? $5 million to sign divorce papers and disappear. They think once Marcus sees you take the money, he will finally realize you were only after their wealth all along. Vivian was quiet for a long moment. $5 million to disappear from a family whose company she could buy with less than 1% of her personal fortune. The audacity of it was almost admirable. "What are you going to do?" Ramona asked. Vivian smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "I am going to give them exactly what they have been asking for all along." "And what is that?" "The truth." The preparations took a week. Vivian coordinated with her legal team, her public relations staff, and her board of directors. Everything had to be perfect. Every detail had to be in place. There would be no second chances once the revelation was made. She chose her outfit carefully. A simple black dress that looked unremarkable at first glance, but was actually a custom piece from a designer who dressed only the most powerful women in the world. No jewelry except her wedding ring. Hair styled with elegant simplicity. The picture of understated elegance that would completely escape the notice of anyone looking for flash and sparkle. Marcus noticed that she seemed different in the days leading up to the gala. More centered, more confident, almost serene in a way he had not seen in years. "Are you okay?" he asked the morning of the event. "You seem calm, too calm." "I am fine," Vivian assured him. "I just have a feeling that tonight might be different." "Different how?" She kissed him softly. "Trust me." The drive to the Grand Metropolitan Hotel felt like the longest journey of her life. Marcus held her hand the entire way, apologizing in advance for whatever his family had planned. "Whatever they try tonight, do not let them break you," he said. "You are stronger than all of them combined, and no matter what happens, I love you. I will always love you." "I know," Vivian replied, "and I love you too. That is why I have endured everything I have endured. That is why I have kept secrets I should not have kept, because loving you was worth any price." Marcus looked confused. "What secrets? What are you talking about?" But the car was already pulling up to the entrance, and there was no time to explain. The valets raised their eyebrows at their modest sedan, exchanging smirks as they held the doors open. Vivian saw their judgment and smiled. In a few hours, those same valets would be looking at her very differently. The Grand Metropolitan Hotel was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings that seemed to stretch to infinity. Marble floors reflected the light of 1,000 candles. The elite of society moved through the space in their finest attire, dripping diamonds and designer labels. And there, near the main stage, holding court like the queen of everything, stood Beatrice Delacroix. Their eyes met across the crowded room. Beatrice smiled. It was the smile of a predator about to devour its prey. Vivian smiled back. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that was about to change everything. The final battle was about to begin, and only one side knew how it was going to end. This concludes part 1. The gala is set. The trap is ready. Beatrice thinks she is about to destroy Vivian forever. She has no idea that the woman she has spent 5 years tormenting is about to turn the tables in the most spectacular way possible. What happens when the truth comes out? What happens when the family discovers that their bookstore clerk daughter-in-law is one of the wealthiest women in the world? What happens when they realize that the partnership they desperately need requires her approval? And most importantly, what will Vivian choose? Revenge or forgiveness? The ballroom hummed with anticipation. 300 guests mingled beneath crystal chandeliers that cast prismatic light across designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. Champagne flowed freely. Laughter echoed off marble walls. The cream of society had gathered for what they believed would be the social event of the season. They had no idea they were about to witness something far more dramatic than any charity auction. Vivian moved through the crowd with quiet grace, acutely aware of the whispers that followed her like shadows. There she is, the bookstore clerk. I heard Beatrice has something special planned for tonight. Poor thing, she has no idea what is coming. Vivian heard every word. She filed them away for later. These same voices would be singing a very different tune before the night was over. Marcus stayed close to her side, his hand warm and protective against the small of her back. He could feel the tension in the room. He knew his family was planning something. He just did not know what. "We can leave," he whispered. "Right now. We do not have to stay for whatever they have planned." Vivian looked up at the man she loved, the man who had defended her for 5 years. The man who had chosen her over his family's approval again and again. The man who still had no idea who she really was. "I am not going anywhere," she said softly. "Tonight, everything changes." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, Beatrice's voice cut through the ambient noise of the party. "Everyone, if I could have your attention, please. We have a very special presentation this evening." The crowd began moving toward the main stage, drawn by the promise of entertainment. Vivian felt Marcus tense beside her. "What is she doing?" he muttered. Vivian did not answer. She simply took his hand and allowed herself to be guided toward the front of the gathering crowd. Gerald appeared at Beatrice's side, his expression grave with manufactured concern. Clarissa stood near the podium, practically vibrating with anticipation. She held an envelope in her perfectly manicured hands, and her smile was the smile of someone who believed they had already won. "Before we begin our regular programming," Gerald announced, his voice carrying the weight of practiced authority, "our family would like to address a matter of some importance, a matter of integrity and transparency." He paused for effect, letting the words sink in. "As many of you know, my son Marcus married several years ago. We welcomed his bride into our family with open hearts and hopeful expectations." Vivian almost laughed at the blatant lie. Open hearts, as if they had ever shown her anything but contempt. "Unfortunately," Gerald continued, his tone shifting to something approximating sadness, "we have come to learn some troubling things about the woman who carries our family name." Marcus stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. "Father, what are you doing?" Gerald held up a hand. "Please, son, let us finish. You deserve to know the truth about the woman you married." Clarissa took her cue, ascending the stage steps with the confidence of a performer about to deliver her greatest role. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she said, her voice sweet and sincere. "As you know, the Delacroix family has always valued honesty, integrity, and transparency. Tonight, we want to share some information about a member of our family who has perhaps been less than truthful about her background." The screen behind her flickered to life. Vivian watched as her carefully constructed cover identity was laid bare for all to see. Bank statements showing minimal funds, employment records from the bookstore, an apartment lease in a modest neighborhood, tax returns that painted a picture of someone barely scraping by. The crowd murmured with interest. This was even better than they had hoped. Real drama, real scandal, something to discuss at brunch for weeks to come. "For 5 years," Clarissa continued, warming to her role, "this woman has pretended to love my brother while contributing nothing to our family or our legacy. We have evidence that suggests her interest in Marcus has always been purely financial." She held up the envelope, brandishing it like a weapon. "We have tried to handle this matter privately. We have tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but enough is enough. Tonight, we are offering her a way out that should satisfy everyone." Clarissa opened the envelope and pulled out a check. $5 million, she announced, her voice ringing with triumph. "More than fair compensation for someone who earns minimum wage. All she has to do is sign the divorce papers we have prepared and walk away. No fuss, no scandal, just a clean break that allows everyone to move on with their lives." The crowd gasped. $5 million was a fortune to most people. Surely this poor bookstore clerk would jump at the chance. All eyes turned to Vivian. She stood perfectly still, her expression unreadable. The silence stretched for 1 heartbeat, 2, 3. Clarissa's smile widened. The longer the silence lasted, the more certain she became of her victory. The woman was obviously overwhelmed, calculating, figuring out how quickly she could cash the check and disappear. "Well," Beatrice called out from her position near the stage, "we are waiting for your answer. $5 million is quite generous for someone of your background." The condescension dripped from every word. Vivian looked at the check in Clarissa's hand. She looked at the screen displaying her supposed poverty. She looked at the crowd of society vultures waiting to witness her humiliation. And then she did something no one expected. She laughed. It started as a soft chuckle and built into something genuine and clear. A laugh of pure, unadulterated amusement. The kind of laugh that comes from someone who knows a joke that everyone else has missed. Clarissa's smile faltered. "What is so funny?" she demanded. Vivian stepped forward, and something in her bearing shifted. The quiet, unassuming wife they thought they knew seemed to evaporate. In her place stood someone entirely different. Someone with authority in every step and power in every gesture. $5 million. Vivian repeated, her voice carrying effortlessly across the suddenly silent room. That is very generous for someone who earns minimum wage. She pulled out her phone and pressed a single button. Ramona, we are ready. Somewhere in the back of the room, a technician who had been paid very well to be in exactly the right place at exactly the right time executed a command. The screen behind Clarissa flickered. The damning investigation documents vanished, and in their place appeared something that made every person in that ballroom catch their breath. Ashford Global Industries. The header read, Sole owner and chief executive officer, Vivian Ashford Delacroix. Below that, a financial summary. Total assets, $4.2 billion. Annual revenue, $17.8 billion. Global employees, 43,000. The check slipped from Clarissa's fingers and fluttered to the stage floor. My name, Vivian said, ascending the stage steps with the grace of someone who had been born to command, is Vivian Ashford Delacroix. Before my marriage, I was Vivian Ashford, sole heir to the Ashford fortune, owner and CEO of Ashford Global Industries, and according to last year's financial reports, one of the wealthiest women in the world. The silence in the ballroom was absolute. 300 people stood frozen, their champagne glasses suspended halfway to their lips, their minds struggling to process what they were witnessing. Beatrice's face had gone the color of old parchment. Gerald looked like he might actually be having a cardiac event. Clarissa was trembling so violently that her designer heels were clicking against the stage floor, but Vivian was not finished. She walked to the podium with measured steps, each one echoing through the cavernous room like a drumbeat of approaching justice. For 5 years, she said, her voice steady and clear, I allowed you to believe I was poor. I wore simple clothes. I worked at a bookstore I actually own. I pretended to struggle financially while running a global empire from coffee shops and kitchen tables. She turned to look directly at the Delacroix family. Do you want to know why? Gerald opened his mouth, but no words came out. Because I wanted to be loved for myself, Vivian continued. Not for my bank account, not for my business connections, not for what I could provide. I wanted to know what it felt like to be chosen for who I am rather than what I have. Her voice cracked slightly, and for a moment, the hurt of 5 years broke through her composure. And you never did. Not once. For 5 years you insulted me. You humiliated me. You tried to drive me away from the man I love. You questioned my worth. You mocked my background. You treated me like I was less than human. She gestured to the screen, which now displayed a breakdown of Ashford Global's holdings. Do you see these companies? These are the partnerships you have been desperately pursuing for months. Every meeting your executives have had with Ashford representatives. Those representatives report to me. Every proposal you have submitted. It crossed my desk. Every desperate plea for investment capital. I read every single one. Gerald finally found his voice. We had no idea, he stammered. If we had known who you were, we never would have. Would have what? Vivian cut him off. Treated me with basic human dignity? That is exactly the problem. You should have treated me with respect regardless of my bank account. That is not respect. That is calculation. She turned to face the crowd, addressing them directly. Let me tell you what I know about the Delacroix Corporation. Your Asian expansion has failed. You are hemorrhaging money. Your stock price is in free fall. Your creditors are circling. Without a major capital infusion or strategic partnership, you will be bankrupt within 18 months. Gasps rippled through the crowd. This was insider information, devastating insider information, and it was being shared with every important business contact and society leader the family knew. The partnership you need? Vivian continued. The one that could save everything your family has built for generations? That decision goes through me. The capital infusion you have been begging for? I control those funds. Every business connection, every strategic alliance, every lifeline you have been hoping to grab. It all requires my approval. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle over the room. The woman you tried to buy off with $5 million could purchase your entire company with what I earn in a single quarter. Beatrice let out a sound that was somewhere between a sob and a moan. She stumbled forward, her carefully maintained composure crumbling like a sandcastle in a hurricane. Please, she whispered. Please, you do not understand. Our company, our legacy, everything Gerald has worked for his entire life. Vivian watched her approach with an expression that was impossible to read. "I understand perfectly," she said. "You spent 5 years trying to destroy me. You called me a gold digger. You said I was not good enough for your family. You mocked my education, my career, my very existence. And now you discover that I am the only person who can save you." She stepped closer to Beatrice, close enough to see the tears cutting tracks through her flawless makeup. "The kitchen, Mrs. Delacroix. You told me I belonged in the kitchen with the staff. You said serving hors d'oeuvres was more in line with my skill set." Beatrice flinched as if she had been slapped. "I was wrong," she gasped. "I was so wrong about everything." "Yes," Vivian agreed. "You were." Gerald approached next, his distinguished bearing replaced by something broken and desperate. The patriarch who had questioned her intelligence, who had made her feel small at every opportunity, who had reduced her to her supposed bank balance at every turn. "Mrs. Delacroix," he said, the formal address sounding strange after years of barely acknowledging her at all. "Vivienne, please, we did not know. If we had known who you were, what you were capable of. If you had known," Vivian repeated, "you would have treated me differently. You would have smiled at me and included me and pretended to value my opinions. But it would not have been real. It would have been because of my money, not because of me." She shook her head. "That is not respect. That is not acceptance. That is just a different kind of transaction." Clarissa was the last to approach. The confident predator who had spent 5 years sharpening her claws on Vivian's spirit was nowhere to be seen. In her place was a young woman whose world had just collapsed around her. "I was the worst," Clarissa said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know that. The things I said, the things I did, the wine I spilled on your dress, the whispers I spread, the threats I made." She was crying now, real tears streaming down her perfect face. "I told you that you had nothing. That you... Nothing. I said you did not have breeding or connections or class." She let out a strangled laugh. "And the whole time, you were more powerful than all of us combined." Vivian looked at this woman who had caused her so much pain. She remembered every cruel word, every deliberate humiliation, every moment of suffering Clarissa had orchestrated with surgical precision. The temptation for revenge was overwhelming. She could destroy them. Right here, right now. One word from her and the Delacroix name would become a punchline in every boardroom in the country. Their business associates would flee. Their social connections would evaporate. Their company would collapse. Their legacy would be reduced to a cautionary tale about the dangers of underestimating people. 5 years of cruelty could be avenged in 5 minutes. All she had to do was say the word. The crowd watched in breathless anticipation. This was better than any drama they had ever witnessed. A real-life Cinderella story playing out before their eyes. The bullied bride revealed as the hidden princess. The cruel family brought to their knees. Surely now she would strike. Surely now she would deliver the devastating blow they all deserved. Vivian opened her mouth to speak, and in that moment, her eyes found Marcus. He stood at the edge of the stage, his face a canvas of conflicting emotions. Shock at the revelation of her true identity, pride in the woman she had become, pain at watching his family humiliated despite everything they had done, love that had never wavered even through the worst of it. She remembered why she had endured 5 years of suffering. She remembered why she had kept her secret through every insult and every humiliation. She remembered what mattered more than revenge or justice or vindication. Him, their love, the life they had built together. And suddenly, the choice was clear. If you are watching this and wondering what you would do in Vivian's position, drop a comment below. Would you choose revenge? Would you destroy the family that had tormented you for 5 years? Or would you find it in your heart to do something else entirely? The answer Vivian gave shocked everyone in that ballroom. And it might shock you too. "I am not going to let your company fail." The words fell into the silence, like stones into still water. Beatrice looked up, her mascara-streaked face frozen in disbelief. "What?" "I said I am not going to let your company fail," Vivian repeated. "I am not going to refuse the partnership. I am not going to watch everything you have built collapse." "But why?" Gerald demanded. "After everything we did to you, after how we treated you, why would you help us?" Vivian looked at Marcus again, drawing strength from the love she saw in his eyes. "Because I am not doing this for you," she said quietly. "I am doing it for him." She turned back to face the family that had caused her so much pain. Marcus has spent 5 years caught between the family he was born into and the woman he chose to love. He has defended me when you attacked me. He has stood by me when you tried to drive me away. He has loved me through every humiliation you orchestrated. Her voice grew stronger. I will not repay that love by destroying the people he cares about, even if they do not deserve his loyalty, even if they have done nothing to earn his devotion. I will not be the reason he loses his family. Marcus stepped forward, his voice rough with emotion. Vivian. She held up her hand. But there are conditions, she said, turning back to the Delacroix family. I will not provide help without accountability. I will not offer mercy without change. Whatever you want, Beatrice said quickly. Whatever you need, we will do anything. First, Vivian said, her voice taking on an edge of steel. I want a genuine apology, not because you now know I am wealthy, not because you need my help. I want you to acknowledge that every person deserves basic dignity and respect, regardless of their bank account or their background. Beatrice nodded frantically. Second, I want to be treated as family, real family, not tolerated as an obligation or dismissed as an inconvenience. I want to be included in decisions and conversations and celebrations. I want my opinions valued and my presence welcomed. Of course, Gerald said. Of course, yes. Third, Vivian stepped closer to them, her gaze intense. I want your promise that you will never, ever judge another person's worth by their bank account again. I want you to remember this night, every time you are tempted to look down on someone you perceive as beneath you. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. Because the truth is, you never know who you are really dealing with. The server at a restaurant might be a medical student who will one day save your life. The janitor cleaning your office might be supporting a family through the hardest time of their lives. The bookstore clerk you mock might be running an empire you cannot even imagine. Clarissa was sobbing openly now. We understand, she said. We understand, and we are so sorry. Beatrice stepped forward, reaching for Vivian's hands. This time, her touch was not the cold, dismissive brush of years past. It was desperate, seeking, pleading. I was cruel to you, she said, her voice breaking. I was cruel and petty and small. I saw you as a threat instead of a blessing. I focused on what I thought you lacked instead of seeing what you had to offer. She took a shuddering breath. You have more grace in your little finger than I have shown in my entire life. You endured 5 years of my cruelty without once striking back. You had the power to destroy us at any moment, and instead you chose patience. You chose love. You chose to give us a chance to become better than we were. Beatrice's tears were flowing freely now. I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I am asking for it anyway. Not for my sake, not for the company, for my son, because he loves you, and I have finally seen why. Gerald stepped up beside his wife. I questioned your intelligence, he said roughly. I mocked your education. I made you feel small at every opportunity. He shook his head. And the whole time, you were running circles around all of us. He met her eyes with difficulty. I was a fool and a snob, and I am ashamed of every word I ever said to you. You are not just worthy of my son. You are worthy of my respect, my genuine respect. And I am sorry it took me 5 years and the threat of financial ruin to see it. Clarissa approached last, her perfect composure completely shattered. I told you that you did not have breeding, she said, almost laughing at the absurdity of it now. I said you lacked class and connections. I treated you like you were nothing. She wiped her eyes with trembling hands. But you know what I see now? I see someone with more character than I will ever have. I see someone who had every reason to be cruel and chose kindness instead. I see someone who is going to be the best thing that ever happened to this family if we are smart enough to let her. She reached out tentatively. Can we start over? Can you give me a chance to be the sister I should have been from the beginning? Vivian looked at this family, broken and humbled, and finally seeing her clearly for the first time. She thought about everything they had put her through. The whispers, the exclusions, the deliberate humiliations, 5 years of constant cruelty that had tested her spirit and her resolve. She thought about the nights she had cried herself to sleep, wondering if she was making a mistake, the moments she had almost given up, the times she had questioned whether any love was worth this much pain. And then she thought about Marcus, the way he looked at her, the way he had always looked at her, with love and admiration and a devotion that had never wavered, no matter how hard his family tried to break them apart. She thought about the kind of person she wanted to be, not defined by the cruelty of others, not shaped by the desire for revenge, but standing in her own power, making choices based on her values rather than her wounds. Forgiveness is not a single moment, she said finally. It is a process. It takes time and consistency and genuine change. I cannot promise that everything will be perfect overnight. I cannot promise that the hurt will disappear just because you are sorry. She paused. But I am willing to try. I am willing to begin the process of forgiving you if you are willing to truly change. Not because you need my money, not because you fear my power, but because you have genuinely seen the error of your ways and want to become better people. Beatrice let out a sob of relief. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Gerald nodded, looking more humble than he had ever looked in his life. We will earn this chance, he promised. We will prove that we deserve your grace. Clarissa threw her arms around Vivian in an impulsive hug. I am going to be the best sister-in-law you have ever seen, she declared through her tears. You will not regret this. I promise you will not regret this. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the scene unfolded before them. This was not the dramatic destruction they had anticipated. This was something else entirely, something rarer and more powerful. This was grace. Marcus stepped onto the stage, his eyes never leaving Vivian's face. Why did you not tell me? He asked softly. All these years, all the secrets. Why? Vivian turned to face the man she loved. Because I needed to know, she said simply. I needed to know that your love was real, that you chose me for who I am, not what I have. Every relationship I had before you was transactional. Every friendship was calculated. Every romance was about my bank account, not my heart. She reached up to touch his face. You were different. From the very first night in that coffee shop, you saw me. Not Ashford Industries, not $4 billion. Just me, a woman in a rain-soaked coffee shop who was willing to listen to your problems. Marcus's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I would have loved you if you had nothing, he said. I would have loved you if you really were just a bookstore clerk. The money does not change anything. I know. Vivian smiled. That is why I married you. That is why I endured 5 years of your family's cruelty. That is why I am standing here now, offering forgiveness instead of revenge. She kissed him softly. Because your love was worth every moment of pain. And because I know you would have done the same for me. Marcus pulled her into his arms, holding her as if he would never let go. The gala resumed, but everything was different. The whispers that had followed Vivian for 5 years transformed completely. No longer the mocking commentary of society vultures circling perceived weakness. Now they were filled with admiration and wonder. Did you see what she did? She could have destroyed them completely. I have never seen such grace under pressure. The business associates who had been eager to witness her humiliation now lined up to pay their respects. The society matrons who had whispered behind her back now sought her attention. The entire social landscape had shifted in the span of one evening. But Vivian barely noticed. She was too focused on the small miracle happening around her. For the first time in 5 years, she was having real conversations with her in-laws, not the stilted, hostile exchanges of the past. Genuine discussions about hopes and dreams and the future they might build together. Beatrice approached her near the champagne fountain, looking tentative and unsure. I want you to know something, the older woman said quietly. Before I knew who you really were, I was wrong about you. I told myself you were a gold digger because that was easier than admitting I was afraid. Afraid of what? Vivian asked. Afraid of losing my son, Beatrice admitted. Afraid that he loved you more than he loved us. Afraid that you would take him away and we would never see him again. She sighed. So I tried to drive you away first. I thought if I made you miserable enough, you would leave on your own and things could go back to the way they were. Did it work? Vivian asked gently. Obviously not. Beatrice laughed, but it was a sad sound. All I did was push Marcus further away. All I did was make him ashamed of his own family. All I did was hurt a woman who did not deserve any of it. She looked at Vivian with genuine regret. I wasted 5 years that could have been spent getting to know my daughter-in-law. 5 years of holidays and birthdays and ordinary Tuesday dinners. 5 years that I can never get back. We cannot change the past. Vivian said. "But we can change the future. If you are willing." "I am willing," Beatrice promised. "I am so willing." Gerald approached next, looking uncomfortable in a way that suggested he was not accustomed to apologizing. "I have been thinking," he said gruffly, "about some of the things I said to you over the years, about intelligence and education and business acumen." He cleared his throat. "I was wrong. Not just factually wrong, although obviously that too, but philosophically wrong. I judged your worth by your credentials instead of your character. I measured your value by your resume instead of your heart." He met her eyes with difficulty. "You sat in my home and listened to me lecture you about business while you were running a company 10 times the size of mine, and you never once corrected me. You never once put me in my place." Vivian shrugged. "What would have been the point? Winning an argument with you would not have changed anything. It would just have made you more defensive." Gerald nodded slowly. "You are right. It would have. I would have doubled down on my position instead of examining it. I would have convinced myself that you were arrogant instead of recognizing that I was ignorant." He sighed. "I am not good at admitting when I am wrong. Ask anyone in my company. But I am wrong about you, and I am grateful that you are giving us a chance to make it right." Clarissa was the most enthusiastic about the new dynamic. "I have so many ideas," she gushed, linking her arm through Vivian's. "We could work together on some of the foundation initiatives. Your expertise in international philanthropy would be invaluable, and I want to hear everything about how you built Ashford Global, the real story, not the magazine version." Vivian laughed at her sister-in-law's sudden transformation. "Slow down," she said. "We have plenty of time." "Do we, though?" Clarissa asked, suddenly serious. "I wasted 5 years being horrible to you. I do not want to waste another minute." It was a sentiment that seemed to echo throughout the evening, a collective recognition that time had been squandered and that every moment going forward was precious. As the gala wound down, Vivian and Marcus found a quiet corner away from the crowd. "Are you okay?" she asked, studying his face. This was a lot to process in one evening. Marcus laughed. "My wife is a secret billionaire who has been hiding her identity for the entire duration of our marriage. My family finally saw what I have seen all along, and I discovered that the woman I love is even more incredible than I already knew." He shook his head in wonder. "I am better than okay. I am amazed." "You are not angry that I did not tell you." "I am a little hurt," Marcus admitted, "that you felt like you could not trust me with the truth. But I understand why you did it. After what you told me about your past relationships, about the fiancé who was using you, I understand." He took her hands in his. "You needed to know that my love was real. And honestly, I am glad you have proof now. I am glad there is no doubt in your mind that I chose you for you." "There never was any doubt," Vivian said softly. "Not really. I knew from that first night in the coffee shop that you were different. I just needed to make sure. And now I want to build a life with you. A real life. No more secrets, no more hiding. Just us, facing whatever comes together." Marcus kissed her deeply. "That sounds perfect." The drive home was quiet but comfortable, a companionable silence filled with unspoken gratitude and renewed commitment. As they pulled into their driveway, Marcus suddenly laughed. "What?" Vivian asked. "I was just thinking about all the times my mother criticized your outfit choices," he said. "All those comments about discount stores and inappropriate attire." Vivian smiled. "The dress I wore tonight cost $8,000. "I know." Marcus shook his head. "I recognized the designer when I saw the label. I spent the whole evening trying to figure out how you could afford it." "Why did you not say anything?" "Because I figured you would tell me when you were ready. Because I trusted you. Because your secrets were yours to keep until you chose to share them." Vivian felt her heart swell with love for this man who had trusted her through everything, who had never demanded explanations, who had simply loved her and waited for her to be ready. "I love you," she said. "I love you too," he replied. "All $4.2 billion worth of you." She laughed and hit his arm playfully. "That is not why you love me." "No," he agreed. "That is not why I love you. But it is definitely going to make Christmas shopping easier." They walked into their modest home together, the home they had built on love rather than luxury. Tomorrow they would discuss what changes might come. New opportunities, new responsibilities, new dynamics with his family. But tonight they simply held each other and appreciated how far they had come. 5 years of patience, one night of truth, and a lifetime of love stretching out before them. 1 year later, the merger announcement dominated business headlines for weeks. Delacroix Ashford Industries. The combined entity became one of the most powerful corporations in the country, blending old money connections with new economy innovation. Business analysts called it the partnership of the decade. Industry magazines ran feature stories about the unlikely alliance and the even more unlikely love story that made it possible. But for Vivian, the business success was secondary. What mattered more was the transformation that had occurred within the family itself. Beatrice had become one of her greatest advocates. The woman who had once mocked her wardrobe now sought her fashion advice. The mother-in-law who had tried to drive her away now called her weekly just to chat. The matriarch who had banished her to the kitchen now insisted she sit at the head of the table during family dinners. "I cannot believe I almost lost you," Beatrice told her during one of their lunch dates. "I cannot believe I was so blind to what was right in front of me." "We all have blind spots," Vivian replied. "What matters is that you can see clearly now." Gerald had developed a deep respect for his daughter-in-law's business acumen. He sought her counsel on important decisions. He valued her opinion in strategy meetings. He introduced her to associates not as Marcus's wife, but as the brilliant CEO who had transformed their family fortunes. "I was a fool," he admitted during one of their business discussions. "I thought I was the smartest person in the room. It never occurred to me that I might be wrong. Nobody is the smartest person in every room," Vivian said. "The wisest people are the ones who know when to listen." Clarissa had undergone perhaps the most dramatic transformation. The competitive, calculating young woman had been replaced by someone genuinely interested in connection and growth. She and Vivian had become real sisters, confiding in each other about challenges and celebrating each other's successes. "I used to think you were my enemy," Clarissa confessed one evening. "I used to think that everything you gained was something I lost. And now I realize that your success does not diminish me, that your brilliance does not make me less brilliant, that there is room in this family for both of us to shine." She smiled. "Besides, having a billionaire sister-in-law has its perks." Vivian laughed. "Is that why you were being nice to me?" "For the perks? Partly," Clarissa admitted with a grin. "But mostly because I genuinely like you. It just took me 5 years and a massive public humiliation to figure that out." The anniversary celebration was held in the same ballroom where everything had changed. The Grand Metropolitan Hotel once again filled with society's elite. But this time, the atmosphere was entirely different. No whispers of scandal, no anticipation of drama, just genuine celebration of a family that had been broken and rebuilt. Vivian stood with Marcus near the dance floor, watching their extended family laugh and connect in ways that would have seemed impossible a year ago. "Any regrets?" he asked, echoing the question he had asked so many times over the years. "Not one," she replied. "Everything happened exactly as it needed to. Even the hard parts, especially the hard parts. They taught me what I was made of. They showed me what you were made of. They proved that our love could survive anything." Marcus pulled her closer. "I do not deserve you." "Probably not," she teased. "But you are stuck with me anyway. For the rest of my life, for the rest of our lives." They swayed together as the music played, content in each other's arms. Beatrice approached with tears in her eyes. "I want you to know," she said, "that I have learned something important this year, something I wish I had understood decades ago." "What is that?" "That the measure of a person has nothing to do with their bank account. That real wealth is found in character and kindness and the ability to forgive. That the best families are not built on money or status, but on love and acceptance." She took Vivian's hands. "You taught me that. By forgiving us when we did not deserve it. By showing us grace when we had earned punishment. You taught me what it really means to be wealthy." Vivian felt her own eyes filling with tears. "Thank you for being willing to learn. Thank you for being willing to teach." Gerald approached next, looking more at peace than Vivian had ever seen him. "I spent my whole life building a legacy," he said. "I thought legacy was about money and power and influence. I thought it was about buildings with your name on them and articles in business magazines." He shook his head. "But you showed me what legacy really means. It means the kind of person you become. It means the way you treat people who cannot do anything for you. It means choosing grace over revenge when you have every right to be cruel. He met her eyes. My legacy would have been one of failure and arrogance if you had not saved us. Not just financially, but morally. You saved us from becoming the worst versions of ourselves. Clarissa bounded over, her previous anxiety replaced by genuine joy. Best sister-in-law ever, she announced, throwing her arms around Vivian. I just told everyone at my table the story of how you revealed your identity at the gala. They could not believe it. You love telling that story, Marcus observed dryly. Because it is the best story, Clarissa protested. Rags to riches, hidden princess. Evil family gets their comeuppance and then learns to be better. It has everything. We were not evil, Beatrice protested weakly. We were pretty evil, Gerald admitted. But we are better now. The evening continued with laughter and connection, and all the warmth that had been missing from Delacroix family gatherings for so long. By the end of the night, Vivian's face hurt from smiling. As they prepared to leave, Marcus stopped her near the grand entrance. I want to tell you something, he said, his voice serious. Vivian looked at him with concern. What is it? I want you to know that you are the bravest person I have ever met. Vivian was confused. Brave. You came into a situation where everyone was against you. You endured years of cruelty without striking back. You held on to hope when hope seemed foolish. And then, when you had the power to destroy everyone who had hurt you, you chose forgiveness. He cupped her face in his hands. That is not weakness. That is the purest form of strength I have ever witnessed. Vivian felt tears streaming down her cheeks. I did it for you. You did it for us, Marcus corrected. For our family. For the future we are building together. You chose love over revenge. You chose healing over destruction. You chose to be the bigger person when nobody would have blamed you for being small. He kissed her forehead. I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that choice. They walked out of the hotel together, hand in hand, leaving behind the ghosts of the past and walking toward a future bright with possibility. The woman who had pretended to be poor had taught an entire family the true meaning of wealth. And in doing so, she had gained something money could never buy. A family that loved her for exactly who she was. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in the power of forgiveness and the strength of love, hit that subscribe button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that grace is more powerful than revenge, that patience can overcome cruelty, that real love is always worth waiting for. Drop a comment below and tell me, what would you have done in Vivian's position? Would you have chosen forgiveness? Would you have found it in your heart to give them another chance? I read every single comment, and I want to know what you think. Remember this, the greatest power is not in destruction. It is in the grace to forgive and the wisdom to rebuild. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are also capable of the most profound change. Sometimes love really can conquer all, not the easy love of compatible strangers, but the hard-won love of two people who have seen each other at their worst and chosen to believe in each other's best. Vivian and Marcus learned that the hard way, but their love was stronger for having survived the test. Their family was better for having been broken and rebuilt. And in the end, the woman the Delacroix family tried to buy off for $5 million became the most valuable member of their entire legacy. Not because of her money, because of her heart. This has been Mr. Brad with another billionaire love story. Until next time, believe in love, believe in forgiveness, believe in the power of second chances. Because everyone deserves the opportunity to become better than they were, even the people who hurt us, especially the people who hurt us. Good night, everyone, and thank you for watching.